Okay, hello everybody. So today we have a guest, a special guest to our interview. His name is Mohammed Mustafa Jibril, and he's 41 years old from Nigeria. He has background in biochemistry, first degree, and he did biochemistry in his second degree. And now he's studying food science and nutrition, specializing in functional food, which means using food as a medicine. He's also versed in food chemistry and phytochemistry. He's also graduate of Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and he has experience in coaching people on gut problems, diabetes, obesity, and hypertension. Back in his country, he's teacher in the university, and he gives nutrition advice to clients. So welcome to the interview, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so we discussed previously, but just to inform the audience that you mentioned that you had before some health issues before you become a student to integrative nutrition, and you overcome these health issues. So can you elaborate and explain more about this? What kind of health issues you had before, and how did you manage to heal them, and all the steps behind?
All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me here in your guest, as your guest. To start with, I actually, while I was growing up, because I grew up in my country, Nigeria, as I was growing up, actually, I was faced with a lot of stomach pains. That was my major problem, alongside with most times, so to say, constipation, gassing, and that's excessive gassing. Then later, it graduated to heartburns as I progressed. And of course, frequent headache, Each time we go to the hospital, the same old story, give you Panadol, Buscopan. Sometimes we give you antacid or acid blockers, especially when I started having heartburns and acid reflux, so to say. So it keeps on relapsing after taking this medication. It subsides for a while. Later, it comes up again. Go to another hospital. Same old stories. Nothing to really rely on. So I actually faced a lot of pain as I was growing up. When I was in my undergraduate, I think that was the peak, because there are some times that they had to rush me back home from the university. Sometimes during the lecture, I would just collapse because of heartburn and stomach pain. Take me back home, or from there they will take me to university clinic, from the university clinic back home. After I must have finished medication, I maybe have a little strength, I'll come back to school, but later on it comes up again. So I kept on asking this question, that is it that I am born with this, or is it that there is no solution to this? So I was always poised, and actually I had a lot of questions in my brain then, but I couldn't find answer to them. So I had to struggle alone. I struggled until when I became a master's student, biochemistry master's student, but I specialized in nutritional biochemistry. So then my nutrition, when we were having some nutrition lectures during then, I started unveiling some little questions I was asking myself. And so God so kind, I was able to interact with some of the professors who were teaching us nutritional biochemistry courses. So then I was encouraged to read. So I went on reading, I read. So through my reading of nutritional literatures, listening to advices online and so on, so I get to realize that actually there are, to some extent, so I could overcome it. So then I learned that there are some foods I need to stop eating. Of course, before then, I have tried on my own to figure out some food that when I take them, it cause me problems. So using that and additional knowledge I was getting from online and from my professors, so I came to realize that yes, there are some things that could happen to make it better. So then I kept on moving progressively, actually, because then I was able to curtail the problem of excessive heartburn. I was able to reduce it through observing some food, not to eat some foods, and eating some. But then I used to be told to take this diet from social diets, containing this, containing that for some time. So at times, when they are recommended to me, yeah, it works for a while, but later it goes back to how it was. So then, frankly, I asked one question: that is it that though drugs have failed me actually, because drugs could not actually stop the problem. So I had to ask myself, is it that food that I was having hope on, because I started feeling fine, better, much better than before when I was not observing the nutritional aspect of it. I started asking this question: is it that food also will fail, or is it the same way that those drugs were working? Is it the same way the food work also? And now I'm having relapse. So many things went on in my brain. So when I finished my master's degree, I was still having some little problem, but most times I'll feel okay for a very long while, better than before. But occasionally the heartburn, some few stomach pain will come up again. Not until 2015, that was about 5 years ago, when I came across integrative nutrition on social media. So I started going into their website. I actually read a lot of things that encouraged me, and of course gave me hope that yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So after 2 years of knowing integrative nutrition, I decided to enroll, because I realized they have some 1-year courses, some 6 months courses. So I took the 1-year course, and before you know it, as I was a student, because we were taught how to walk the talk, we were learning, and at the same time we were practicing those things we were learning, because it was more of vocational. So we got actually I was really liberated, because most questions that were hanging behind my brain, then I was able to really solve them when I did this course of with integrative nutrition, and I really learned a lot. And since then, actually, I've increased my knowledge on how to use nutrition, unlike the classical nutrition. Actually, what we are being taught in IIN actually is more proactive than the classical nutrition, because in IIN you learn how to walk someone through his experience. Then you were able to get and realize the kind of diet that is good for that individual. You don't just come up with maybe keto diet or paleo diet or vegan diet and say, take this. No, you have to walk this individual through it. Then you be able to know what is good for that person and what is not good for him. Then the person has to stick to it, because we are all bio individuals. So we have differences due to bio individuality. So thank God I'm more informed now, and I'm relieved of those. Even if they relapse, I knew what causes it, because that was what we learned in integrative nutrition. I learned how to listen to myself, actually. So even if I have headache now, I know how to listen to myself and know what is the cause. Then I go for it, and before you know it, I'm relieved. So thank God for that, and thank God for integrative nutrition.
Yeah, thank God. And I wanted to ask you something. You said that you noticed, you said you have to listen to your body. You noticed that the food that you were eating were causing this heartburn, acid reflux, and pain.
Yes, they were contributing to that.
Can you tell us something about which food you noticed that were causing that, which food you eliminate, like some tips for the audience? And again, you were taking some anti-acid drugs and anti-inflammatory. And also, what do you think about these drugs? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, during that time, I noticed that even at the moment, they are still part of the advice and recommendations I do give to clients. I noticed that each time I take high carb diet, I mean cereals, most times cereals, talk about rice, millet, guinea corn, maize, those diets that increase, that has high amount of carbohydrates, especially the not dietary carbohydrate, those carbohydrates that are easily digestible and they are not having high fiber. Each time I took them, I used to have, during the process of digestion, I used to have that reflux, or let me say heartburn at that time. I also realized that at that time, actually, I realized when I take a food that is spicy, it used to actually make the stomach pain and heartburn revisit me, or those food that are acidic in nature, maybe sour food, maybe. So because there has to be a time that I totally stop taking citrus, or maybe any fruit that is not fully ripe, that has some amount of any form of acid, maybe malic acid or any acid inside it. They used to aggravate that. So I could remember then also I was always giving acid blockers. We call them, back in Nigeria, we call them antacids.
Yeah.
Actually, those instances, yeah, when you take it at that time, you have it, after a few while, you get a relief. But trust me, it will surely come back. It always relapse. You end up having bottles of antacids lined up on your table, used ones, I mean. So you end up using most of your monthly income doing all that. At times they will give you some antibiotics, So I was actually exposed to a lot of drugs, especially antibiotics and those antacids and painkillers. So not until I joined integrative nutrition, I didn't know much. Let me say I knew little about what is really happening in the stomach when you take antacid. Ordinarily, or let me say physiologically, the cause of heartburn or acid reflux, or how they call it, GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease 10.
Yeah.
The cause of that is not really excessive acid in the stomach. We learned that the cause of that is as a result of alkaline stomach. Ideally, the stomach needs acid for digestion. So maybe by excessive stress, systemic stress, maybe it happens that when you have gathered a lot of stress, because it can also cause that, you will end up having an alkaline stomach. What happens is it is not hydrochloric acid that is secreted in the stomach that causes the heartburn. Mm-hmm. We were told that there are some weak acid that do come from the intestine that goes as soon as the stomach becomes alkaline, and it stays for a long time. So those acids, like lactic acid, they do move back into the stomach. And so when you eat, when you feel and that makes you to feel acid reflux, because as soon as it is alkaline, the lower esophageal sphincter will open. It's supposed to be closed, and it is only closed when the stomach is acidic. And the acidic pH that makes it remain closed is between 1 and 3. And that makes it a huge acidic pH. And that is the same pH that is needed to digest food. So when you take antacids, it's like you are adding more alkaline to the already alkaline situation in the stomach. So physiologically, you are not helping the situation. You are rather weakening or aggravating the situation. Let's assume it's HCl. Assuming it's HCl that is causing that heartburn, I bet you HCl will rupture the intestinal lining. It will cause ulcer, serious ulceration. And so most times ulcers are gastric ulcer are not really caused by HCl. It is as a result of this weak acid that allow H. pylori to grow. So under normal circumstances, so let me say physiologically, the pH of the stomach is supposed to be between 1 and 3, or averagely 2. So when you eat food, after chewing the food into bolus, and it moves into the GI, into the stomach, immediately HCl is being secreted. HCl together with mucus is secreted to cause the pH of the acid to be, of the stomach to be acidic, so that as soon as it becomes acidic, there are some digestive enzymes that start digestion of protein in the stomach. They are called pepsin. As soon as that pH reaches 1 to 3, then pepsin can be secreted by the pancreas. Then it can now move into the stomach and start digesting protein. And as soon as this protein are really digested, then because the food can stay in the stomach for about 2 hours during that process of digestion. So protein will fully digested or almost fully digested in the stomach, while the digestion of carbohydrate that started already from the mouth will continue, because ptyalin that started from the mind is also present in the secretion from the of the stomach wall and the other glands that supply ptyalin. So pancreas, when pancreas also supply the ptyalin, so carbohydrate and protein will be well digested. You can see that if the pH is not within that range in the first place, the pancreas will not be induced to secrete digestive enzymes, so the food will not be digested, which is one of the factors that causes a lot of gastrointestinal problem. We know that if protein is not well digested and it passes to the intestine, I know the intestine, of course, the small intestine, that is where the digestion starts. The absorption starts. The protein will be absorbed, undigested, and it goes into bloodstream. I know the next line of action is that protein in large sizes, they elicit the immune system to counteract, because protein are not supposed to be seen freely in large sizes in the blood, or let me say in body circulation. So your immune system will act naturally. So that is the time you start causing some immune reactions, before you know it, someone is having leaky gut. From leaky gut, you start having some myriad of reactions leading to a lot of complication, call it whether asthma, whether even name them, all these kind of problems of the intestine. So you can now see that not having a pH of 1 or acidic pH in the stomach is a real problem. So I will advise that antacid should not be the option. Instead, we should ask experts that are good at using food to solve problems like this, so that we know what to do. Or better, you ask your doctor. So antacid is not really always the solution to gastroesophageal reflux, actually.
Yeah. So what do you suggest? Which kind of food is good to help solving this kind of problem with acid? So you said that it's not good to eat carbs and this chili, spicy food, but what is good actually to make our stomach acidic and to help our pancreas and liver release enzymes to digest the food? So which food is good for good digestion? What do you think?
Yeah, actually, we all know each food has its own function, actually. It doesn't mean that high carbohydrate food is not good, provided the high carbohydrate diet is full of high fiber. Mm-hmm. So if dietary fiber is one very good option to go for. So you eat food that are fibrous in nature. And we know those food that are fibrous in nature are majorly from vegetables, and fruits. Aside food like wheat, rye, barley, and their variety, they are among the high fiber food that can get from cereal family. They are good for that. If then going to leguminous foods, you see foods like beans, a variety of beans, maybe black-eyed beans, red beans, the lentils. They are all good for that. Then talking about vegetables, vegetables like kale, very good for that. Vegetables like cucumber, also good. Or let me say cucurbitacea family, talking about cucumber, pumpkin, and their family, they are all good for that. Then also leafy vegetables like
spinach,
amaranth, spinach, yeah. Though some people are reactive to spinach, and spinach also sometimes is not really advisable to be taken because it has high amount of phytates, and phytates are known to to prevent the absorption of calcium from our food and some metals that are having +2 oxidation state. So some people, yeah, you can take really amaranthus or its family, but if you are having problem of the stomach, it's not advisable you take that. Instead, you go for lettuce, kale or collard green, and such. Then also vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, they're also very, very good for that. Then there is also this how do you call it? It's also very good because it's also rich in some minerals actually. Talking about what's the name?
So
it's also very good. I will recall the name. I will tell you later.
Yeah, okay.
It's also very good.
So after you change the diet, you incorporate all these changes, all this food that you learn that is good for this kind of thing. You incorporate and you start feeling much better, right? So this food also help with the bloating, with the cramps, right? Or there is another food to ease the bloating and the cramps, something else?
Yes.
Which food do you think is
the
better?
really acids. The really acid, provided each time you take meal, it goes along with with fiber. Like I said earlier, provided if you take food, there is fiber in it, is actually going a long way to solve that problem, because this bloating, as you all know, most times there's also contribution of microbiota of the gut. So by the time you take high fiber food, they give them food, they serve as prebiotic to them. So I also use, and up to now I'm still using, I also use ginger. You can incorporate ginger in your diet. If you like, you can take it fresh ginger. You can chew fresh ginger because it contains anti-inflammatory substances that also caution the GIT for its very good activity. Actually, it's really assisted me also that. There are also things like garlic. Garlic is also good. Garlic, onion, they're also very good because I also tried inculcating them in my diet and they worked fantastically well. I really enjoyed them. Yes. And some few spicy, I wouldn't say spicy foods, because among spicy food, these are the only ones I have held on to. This ginger and garlic and maybe onion. Yes, they really assisted me. So the basic thing I tried doing was to make sure that I eat food high in fiber.
High in fiber, yeah.
High in fiber. Not that I stop eating fatty food. I take fatty food. Of course, my meal has fatty foods, but healthy fats. Yeah.
Like avocado, like...
yes, it's avocado I was trying to say earlier. Avocado is very, very good. Yeah, very, very one of the very, very important veggies we should not keep aside. They are very helpful in terms of stomach problem. Then when it comes to fruit also, fruits like banana, fruits like watermelon, fruits like apple, and so on, they're also good because I tried including them, and they really worked well for me, and I enjoyed including them in my diet actually.
Yeah, that's good. One more question. What do you think during the meal? Do we need is it good to drink liquid water or after the meal or before the meal? So is it good to drink anything during the meal?
Yeah, I know where your question is heading to. Actually, people that are, even if you don't have problem of acid reflux, advisably is not advised you take water along the meal. It's advised much after eating meal, then you take water, because digestion is actually assisted in high acidic stomach. So by the time you take water that is having a pH of 7, if you take it into empty tummy or while you are eating food, it's like you are trying to dilute the acidic pH of the stomach. So if there's any liquid you should take, or especially for those people that are having, already having acid reflux or heartburn, if there's any liquid you should take while eating food, let's say you should take vinegar, apple cider vinegar, it's better to take it along meal, or you take it some 5, 10 to 15 minutes before meal, so as to make sure that the stomach is already prepared at its acidic pH before the meal. Or else, don't take any liquid while eating food. Advisably, you should take maybe 15 to 20 minutes after meal, or professionally, you should take 30 minutes after meal. That is better, or 30 minutes before meal. Because any liquid you take, if it's not acid, apple cider vinegar, it is going to disturb the pH. It's going to increase the pH, making it alkaline, so that digestion will not be facilitated. So I will not advise that you take any liquid during meal.
That's good to know for our audience.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you briefly to explain to us what you're studying about the food science and food chemistry. I know this is a huge subject because you're a master in this area, but just briefly, what does it mean, food science and food chemistry? Exactly.
Okay. Food science basically is every form of technology that is being applied to process food, right? As soon as it is being harvested from the farm, up to the time it gets to your table. So all those technologies applied, both individuals that are involved, is all governed by food science. For example, right now, if you want to eat food, any kind of food you want, whether raw, fresh, whatever form you want it, and also be sure that it is safe and healthy. Right now, we don't go to the farm directly, even though it's produced in the farm. We go to the grocery stores. There in the grocery stores, or before they get to the grocery stores, those individuals that involved in transforming the food, or making sure that the temperature of storage of the food is maintained, so that the nutrients in the food are not depleted, or even the equipment that are being used, the way the food are being handled, packaging of the food, and whatever additive is going to be added to keep the food safe in the storage condition before we come and buy them from the grocery stores. All those technologies involved, they are called food science. In a nutshell, food science is the science behind making food ready and healthy for we healthy individuals to take to support our lives. Then coming to food chemistry, food, so to say, is as complex as human being. We human beings, we have different components in our body. Phenotypically, outside we see our faces, we have eyes, we have nose, we have mouth, we have ears. We have hands, our skin, our head. All these are all senses we use to feel the external environment and bring it inside. Then if you go into the body, we have systems working with organs, the organs working with tissues, the tissues working with cells. So also food, our food. If you take a typical apple, for example, maybe a red colored apple, conspicuously red or different colors, looking enticing. Right from the outside, those colors of the apple, they are called anthocyanins. They are called secondary metabolites. The anthocyanins are rich color families. They are also part of a complex family called polyphenols. They are secondary metabolites. They are not primary. They don't provide primary nutrients like carbohydrate, fat, and protein. No, they are secondary metabolites that protect the plants in the farm against harsh weather and predations from from other plants and insects, and so to say. But they also act to attract we human beings to come and consume them. Not even that, when you consume them, they are chemical substances that when they enter our body, they play another role that is secondary to our primary aim of eating food. Primarily we eat food to get protein, carbohydrate, and fat. But these anthocyanins, or let's say polyphenols in this plant, they provide additional function to the body when we take them. So that is when the question of functional food comes in. So that's why if we're defining functional foods, we include all this into it. So when it comes to food chemistry, food has a lot of components, a lot. Besides fat, carbohydrates, protein, they also compounds like the tannins, the polyphenols, the anthocyanins, name them, the vitamins, minerals, they are all in the plants. So this is, in a nutshell, is part of the chemistry of food.
Yeah, this is a huge subject. I'm sure we will make another interview especially for this, and we will elaborate more. And I'm sure many people would like to know more about this, how the food function in our body. Yeah.
Yes, so, you have reminded me of one thing I was supposed to say. Food, in terms of food chemistry, food is an information that we pass to our body.
Yeah, so it's an information to ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're coming to the end of the interview. So do you have like a message to our audience, special message that you want them to learn from this interview and to start incorporating and in their everyday life to become more healthy?
Yeah. Actually, after joining Institute for Integrative Nutrition, actually, I learned a lot of things. One first thing I learned is health is not a destination. I learned that health, like life, is a journey. It's a journey that you have to embark on, and it's a process that has to be taken stage by stage. So it's never a destination. I want audience to also think about this. It is a journey, actually, and we will have to fulfill. Then secondly, I learned how to listen to myself. I learned that the food we eat is divided into two. One is primary food, the other one is secondary food. The food we take from our plates is basically the secondary food, not the primary food. Because I learned that there are other things that nourish the body that as soon as we have them balanced with the food we eat from our plates, health will be very fabulous. So we should listen to ourselves. Actually, that is one good message I would like to pass to the audience. And most importantly, you should listen to your gut, because the health of the body depends on our gut entirely. Thank you.
Yeah. So God is our creator, so we need to listen to him and to listen to our body, because he speaks through our body. And not everybody reacts with the food the same as the other person. So everybody has different microbiome, different bacteria, fungus and microbes in their body. They react differently on different food. So everybody should listen to their body. And start following what their body needs, right? And they will reach their ultimate health. Okay, thank you very much for your explanation about everything that you know and that you have studied. It was, I hope it was interesting and informative for our audience. And I hope we will meet again for a second interview about the food chemistry. And I hope that our people will start listening and incorporating these healthy tips from you and from myself also. And we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.